On today's show, 16 games went by and I had no content on this channel about it. So, how have the Clippers been doing since we've last talked? Gonna be talking about all of it, including Kawhi Leonard's progress on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA. And in my 20th season as a Clipper fan, I've been covering the Clippers for 5 years on my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, and of course, 3 seasons now here with Locked On Clippers. Make sure you subscribe to both Dime Dropper and Locked On Clippers, and you can follow your boy on social media at Dime Dropper Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Locked On Clippers is also available via newsletter. That's right. I write a daily newsletter. Where can you go to get it? LockedOnDaily.com. That's where. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. All right, Clipper Nation, back for my third episode of the week in this return back to normal Locked On Clippers regular scheduled programming. And today we're going to be talking about the 16 games in which I've been gone. I'm going to try to give as brief and as quick, but also a thorough summary of those 16 games that I missed. And then how has Kawhi Leonard progressed in that time? And of course, finally, now that we're 54 games into the season, 52 games, into the season, we'll be looking at the standings. Let's begin with the 16 games. So I'm going to try to do this as best I can, right? The last time I spoke to you on a podcast in terms of game review was the loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves on January 6th, the day before it all went down, the day before the fire started. So that Wednesday game in Denver, in my opinion, that game should have never been played. To make LA teams play during those days was ridiculously inhumane, in my opinion. I don't care that it was in Denver. Kawhi Leonard missed the game because, I think his house ended up being okay, but it was I'm honestly shocked that Kawhi Leonard's house is okay because I know where it is, and a lot of the houses going down that way from PCH to Malibu got destroyed. So, I mean, it's insane to me if it is okay, but clearly the fact that it was at a very at-risk area, he had every right to miss that game, and I just thought that was a joke of a performance by our entire team, but I don't blame them at all, so I'm going to forget about that one. Then we had the 2 games at home against Miami and Brooklyn, in which we won both. The Miami game was by the way, we're 9-7 in the 16 games that I've been gone, so slightly over 500. You'll honestly take that, especially considering that we were several games over 500 when I last got on the mic during all that time. So Heat game was, Kawhi still on a minutes restriction, but our big 3 outside of Kawhi cooked. Norman Powell, James Harden, Ivica Zubac, all big performances. And then we had the Nets game, which was like our biggest win in franchise history. That game was 126-67, and it was the first game in which Kawhi Leonard was our leading scorer this season. He had 23 points. That was really great. You started to see a little more shiftiness from Kawhi, getting to his spots a little more easy. So that was looking good. And then we went to Portland on the road. Kawhi Leonard did not play that game because it was a back-to-back the day after that Brooklyn game, and it was another comprehensive performance by the guys. This was before Portland kind of caught a little bit of steam, but we had Norman Powell with 23 points. James Harden had a 19-point game, so we took care of business there. That was 3 wins in a row. At that point of the season, this is January 16th. We're 23-17. And then there was the game that was my first game back. I did a vlog on that game. You can check it out on my channel. It was against the Lakers. I thought Zubac dominated Anthony Davis in that game. It was a great performance all the way around. Our defense was locked in. Norman Powell was good. And we blew them out the gym 116-102. That was our 4th win in a row. And Kawhi Leonard played in that game. We were 24-17 at that point. The next day, I was also at that game. You can check out a vlog of that game on my channel, Chicago Bulls. That game, we just couldn't find our rhythm offensively in any way. And because it was a back-to-back, we didn't have Kawhi Leonard in that one. And we also didn't have Ivica Zubac in that one because he was missing the game with an eye injury. So you really could see how much Zoo meant to our team. Norman Powell didn't shoot very well from the floor. He was 9 for 22. And James Harden was 5 for 17. So the Chicago Bulls came in and beat us in that one. Wasn't a great performance, but honestly, after the night before against the Lakers, you can't complain too much. And then we had that game against the Celtics that was a really exciting one that we almost won when everyone was being rested. Everyone, right? And we almost got the job done. That was actually, you can argue, Kevin Porter Jr.'s best game as a Clipper, in my opinion. He had 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists on 12 for 21 shooting. And then we also had Derrick Jones Jr., who had an insane bucket at the end of regulation to tie the game with 29 points and 7 rebounds on 60% from the field. So amazing game for Derrick Jones Jr. there. He was just having an amazing season and continues to have an amazing season. But we lost those 2 games in a row. No shame in losing to the champs, especially with all those guys out. You even saw Kobe Brown get some extended run in that game. He had 11 rebounds to lead the way for us in that one. And then the next day, we actually played Kawhi on that second night of a back-to-back. So really crowded schedule, I might add. Really crowded schedule during all this time. But Kawhi played in that game. He had 15 points and 7 boards in 24 minutes. Still hasn't played over 30 minutes yet to this point. And then Derrick Jones Jr. had 19. 7 Clippers were in double figures that night, Zoo being one of them. Harden getting a triple-double with 17, 12, and 13. Norman Powell with 22. Mo Bamba had his best game as a Clipper, arguably, with 13. And then Amir Coffey with 10. So that was a, comprehensive win. And then the next game I was at, that one you can check out a video on my channel. Great game, great win against the Milwaukee Bucks. And it was literally the Big Four in full effect. I love that I get a chance to mention this because this was kind of the vision, right, of our team. 127 to 117. That's still a lot of points. Remember, Chris Dunn, he was out for a little bit. He missed a couple of games. I think it was a hamstring injury, but let me double check on that. We really missed Chris Dunn when he was out because he just adds so much ball pressure. And yeah, it was my bad. It was left knee soreness. It was a knee injury, I guess. Apologies for saying hamstring. But we really miss Chris Dunn. What he does is activity defensively, and he gets us going in transition. But we didn't have him in that game. Harden had 40 in that one. I was there for that. That was an amazing performance by him. Norman Powell, 33, so 73 points. That's when I declared them the best scoring backcourt in Clipper history. Probably the best. They might be the best backcourt in Clipper history. I think they might. And then Zoo had a double-double, and Kawhi had 18. So Kawhi starting to return to his old self. And then we had a little dip in form, and it started with the game at Phoenix. Sorry for the people that are watching on video. I was wearing my hood. It's because it's a little cold. It's a little rainy in LA right now. But we lost at Phoenix, and honestly, I put that down to just the Suns' good players, and they have some really good ones, making some tough shots. They shot 47% from 3 in that game. We still didn't have Chris Dunn, who helps us defensively a lot. Terrence Mann got only 7 minutes. This is when you started to see, he's slowly getting kind of fizzled out. And we didn't get much from our bench at all. Kawhi had 17 points on 50% shooting. Zubac, by the way, this is another big issue I have. Zubac had 25 and 16, and he only shot 17 times. I know you might be thinking only 17 times. Harden shot 17 times. Norm 14, Kawhi 14. I get that's good distribution, but I just feel as though we can go to Zoo even more than we do. Because, why can't Zoo get to 20 shots some nights? Why not? But we lost 111 to 109. Narrow loss to a decent team. They've been struggling a lot. You can argue they're a bad team relative to their expectations, but it is what it is. And then a really solid win at San Antonio at the end of the month, at the end of January, 128 to 116. Again, the Big Four on full display. All 4 of them with 20-plus points. Norm with 27. Harden with 21 and 11 assists. Zoo with another 20-20 game. Ivica Zubac, 21 and 22. And then Kawhi with 27, 6, and 7 on 11 for 19 shooting in 29 minutes. So at that point, that was his highest scoring game and still is his highest scoring game of the season, is that 27-point game against the San Antonio Spurs. And then the next game was at Charlotte, where we won 112 to 104. It was not pretty, but Kawhi looked good, and it was his second straight game of 20 or more points. He had 21 points in 28 minutes, and this is where I was starting to say, uh-oh, here comes Kawhi. Watch out, rest of the league. But now we get to February, and this is where we've started to dip in form just a bit, to the point where it's made me think, is this just that time of the season where we're starting to see that guys like James Harden have worked so hard and have been overtaxed? Is this where our older team starts getting fatigued? Well, we looked old against the Toronto Raptors on February 2nd, where they just completely ran us out the gym. And I know Toronto's been playing better of late, and their home record is actually, at this point when they beat us, it was 12 and 14 after this game. So they're almost 500 at home. But they just looked faster than us, quicker than us, beating us down the floor in transition, and they were making all their shots. They shot 52% from three, and they've been one of the worst three-point shooting teams the last couple of years. Kawhi was ice cold after his two good games. He was 6 for 18, and James Harden was terrible in this game as well. He had 25 points, but he was 7 for 20 and 2 for 9 from three, and Norman Powell didn't play. And another game where I think Zubac should be shooting more. Kevin Porter shot more times than him. And Kevin Porter had 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. He actually wasn't that bad. KPJ is actually having a pretty decent season. I just don't think that he's a guy that's going to help teams with winning aspirations to win a playoff series. And then you had the Lakers loss that was so frustrating. I mean, we got absolutely annihilated in that game. Didn't even look like we tried. That small ball lineup made Zubac look like he didn't belong on the court. It was really bad. Kawhi didn't do much. Harden was literally looked like he had drank before the game. I mean, they were pathetic in that game. Only Norman Powell and Derrick Jones Jr. came to play. Everybody else was awful. Kevin Porter Jr. was reverting back to the Kevin Porter Jr. that we've seen all season. So that was a rough loss. And then the Indiana game, I mean, I was at that game and I sat in the second row. I was at the Laker game and the Indiana game, so you can check out both those videos as well. And with the Pacers game, we started off really well. We're up 20. And then our transition defense in both the Laker game and the Pacers game was terrible. Like, we just didn't get back. We're slow getting back, especially when Harden or Kawhi shoot. And Zubac in transition, he never thinks that if he has to guard a guard, that he has to actually guard them. He still just goes to the paint, which is ridiculous because he's just leaving guys open for transition threes. And it was a tough loss. It was a tough loss, and it looks like Kawhi is still, not there yet. And in the last game, we beat the Jazz by 20, but it took until the fourth quarter to pull away from them. Zubac had 26 and 15, and Harden had a crazy stat line of 17 assists and 23 points. But Kawhi was just 4 for 9. So coming up, yes, we are coming off that Jazz game. We're 29 and 23, but coming up, going to talk more about Kawhi Leonard and his progression. I got to tell you a little something about Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture and anything of that nature. I mean, when I do end up getting a place to stay, like permanently, or like I should say temporarily for an extended stretch, I'm gonna have to look into some furniture. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget, on Wayfair. Wayfair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals with endless inspiration for every space, so I'll be checking them out. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. All right. So back talking about the Clippers, but more specifically Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi Leonard has played 14 games as of Wednesday, February 12th, before the Grizzlies game at Intuit Dome, which I thought was a road game, but it turns out I'm going. So after I finish this episode and upload it, I'm going right to Intuit Dome. Kawhi Leonard has played 14 games to this point, and the Clippers are 9-5 with him. So we've been good with that with him. We've been good with Kawhi. He's been a positive influence. 9-5. His stats on the season right now are 16 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 3 assists a game, 1 steal a game, and half a block a game on 46, 36, 78 split. So that's 46% from the field, 36% from three, 78% from the foul line, and he's averaging 25 minutes. Now, I'm not going to compare those stats to other years of his career because it's basically, lows and basically everything besides his rookie year. So I'm not going to do it. It's not fair. He needs to work his way back and continue to work his way back. It's going to take some time. Now, the question is for Clipper fans, how much time is it going to take? We don't got that much more time. Well, look, we've got 30 games left in the season. I'll be talking about standings watch coming up. But let me just say this about Kawhi, right? He's only played 30 plus minutes in 2 of the games. He's only scored 20 plus in 3 of the games. So if we're being honest, he hasn't really gotten the leash off. You know what I'm saying? 30 plus minutes in 2 games, we can't really judge him then. And here's another thing I noticed last game. A game against a team like Utah, we need to really be looking to play through Kawhi. Now, here's what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing a team that's still James Harden and Norman Powell's team. Mainly James Harden when it comes to handling the ball. If we're going to make this transition and allow Kawhi to make it, we're going to have to force feed Kawhi a little more than we're doing, and it might come at the expense of winning the game right now. Because right now, Kawhi Leonard is probably, it's not probably, is not in as good as of basketball shape, despite how he looks physically, as a James Harden relative to what they are. James Harden, Norman Powell, these guys have been in the thick of it since October, since training camp, playing full speed. There's no replica for full speed NBA basketball. And Kawhi Leonard, you need a bigger sample size, in my opinion, but we need to start playing through him. That means that if he plays extended minutes in the first, he should be touching the ball almost every time down. We don't have Paul George anymore. You know what I mean? James Harden is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's an all-star. He deserves it, everything. You're not winning a championship, let alone, you might not even win a series with him as your best player anymore. This is Kawhi's team. He's getting paid $50 million. We need to play through him and sink or swim through him. I just feel as though we're not, like that last game against Utah, 9 shots. That's insane. He played 31 minutes. 9 shots. And by the way, he's turning the ball over a lot. The reads are just slow. My friend Asher mentioned it in one of the recent vlogs, and I know, sorry, I'm being annoying with the vlogs, but it's a good perspective of seeing what other Clipper fans think, separate from this. That's not a podcast, but I always ask Clipper fans things, and my friend Asher made a good observation that Kawhi Leonard's reads are a little slow right now. Everything is a step slow. The move he's making. And by the way, it looks like he's having trouble getting by guys. And what concerns me a little bit about that is people are saying he's slimmed down. He's not bumping guys and as strong anymore. Well, if he did that, it's because he wants to try to speed up a little bit because he's not getting by guys anymore, which I've mentioned for years on this show, basically since I took over as host. And he's not getting by anybody right now. Everything's difficult. And he lives off a diet of pretty tough shots, but for him, they're not that tough because if he gets within 15 feet of the basket and gets a semi-contested look, that's like a layup for him historically, but which it is for a lot of the great mid-range scorers of all time, which he's in that he's in the category with the greats. It feels tougher. He doesn't have the same elevation. He's not getting to his spots as quick, and all the reads are slower. The passing hasn't been good. And again, it takes time. Even though Kawhi has never been the best passer, he's a solid passer, but he's never been the best passer. If you look at, I was watching a Luka video that was recommended to me, and trust me, I'll touch on it a little bit, but the Luka and how it impacts the Clippers, the moves of the Lakers and how it impacts the Clippers, that probably deserves a whole episode in itself during the All-Star break. I'm going to have to do something on that. Cause Jesus. But I was watching a Luka video that was recommended to me, and it was showing our matchup against them in 2020. Kawhi, he was moving so different. I get it though, torn ACL and a meniscus since, but my God, like when we got Kawhi, like he was still like that, like athletically. Like just go look at the way he's moving, like how much elevation he's getting on his shot. It's like, I'm not saying it's Jerry West, Kobe, Jordan level elevation, but like compared to now, because Kawhi barely elevates on his shot. Compared to now, he has spring. But yeah, it was kind of depressing, honestly, watching it. But I still have some confidence. Let me look up. Moral of the story is he still needs some time. He still needs some time. And we need to shift into playing like a Kawhi Leonard team, even if it means losing some games in the short term, because we're not gonna go to the championship off of the backs of Harden anymore. This is not 2018 and 19. Like, and he didn't get to the championship then because the Warriors were in the way, and they missed a lot of threes. I hate Mike D'Antoni. I'm sorry. If people think I'm a Harden hater, nah, I'm a D'Antoni hater, like to the max, to the absolute max. Let me see. So I just want to look at Kawhi Leonard's game log. Last season doesn't apply because he was fresh to start last season, which was great. That was very underrated that we had Kawhi to start a season fresh. But let's look. I'm looking at his 2023 game log. Let's see how many games he played before he scored 30. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He played 10 games before he scored 30. He's played 14 this season. He still hasn't scored 30. It wasn't until about 17, 18 games in where he starts going off. We're starting to get to that point, though. We're starting to get to that point. That's what I'm a little concerned about. Because I'm looking at the games. His 14th game of the season in 2023, which is probably the best season you could compare this to. His 14th game of the season then was at Toronto on December 27th. So after that, he scored 26 points, 24 points. Then it was the pathetic game we had against Denver. I remember I was fuming after that game. That pathetic performance we had against Denver on the 5th of January, 2023. And then we had the Terrence Mann is going to start instead of Reggie Jackson stuff. And then Kawhi had 29, 33, 24, 30, 27, 36, 30, 25, 27, 32, 33, 17, 35, 24, 18, 33, 16, 44, 33, 23, 21, 34, 24, 38, 30, 24, 21, 32, all the way till March 25th. So point being, guys, is like, now that I just did that for the first time. I didn't prep that, as you can tell. Apologies. I'm in a rush, but we need to start seeing something soon in the next 5 games, because then I'm going to really start getting concerned that maybe Kawhi is just not that guy anymore. And that's going to scare the hell out of me, because we're stuck as an organization with him at this point. Unless somebody who wants a guy that's making $50 million, it's only a $30 million player at this point. I mean, who knows? I hope that's not the case. Hopefully, by the time you listen to this, Kawhi is in the midst of dropping 40 against Memphis. But coming up, we're going to be talking about the standings, which include Memphis, our foes from down the freeway, and the other teams, including where we stand right now. I got to tell you a little something about open phone. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. You can be the guy that's in charge of business, in charge of communication. You can be the guy that's in charge of organization of certain events. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls daily, calls day and night, and it's juggled alongside your personal calls. As your team grows, it becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number. That's where Open Phone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and personal life separate. For just $15 a month, the cost of a few coffees, you get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. Open Phone works through an app on your phone or computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. All right. So the Clippers have been still doing solid since my hiatus, 9-7 in that time. We're still in a solid situation in the Western Conference. Kawhi Leonard is progressing. Looks like he was right about to be himself again. And then these last couple of games kind of stagnated that, I guess you can say. But Clippers, are 1-3 in their last four, 1-3 in the month of February, with the latest game being a win. So hopefully they can build off that. Let's look at the standings, because that's something that I really stayed away from. And by the way, Zubac is coming off 26-15 to go along with 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block on 13 for 16 shooting. Here's my question. On a night like that, when he has 16, he's 13 for 16, why are Norman Powell and James Harden shooting more than him? I'm sorry. Just like, we need to start looking at Zubac as like, oh, you're on their level as a scorer now. Because what he's not on James Harden's level at is obviously, yes, scoring, of course, but passing is the main difference as to why he doesn't get all the looks, even though he's, 27. But hopefully we'll start thinking about him in that way, because I think that's where we take the next step. And it's not just Harden, it's Norm as well. Because in my opinion, throwing it down to Zoo in a one-on-one situation is more reliable than throwing it to Norm in a one-on-one situation, if I'm being honest. So let's talk about the standings. We're 29-23, which in my opinion is really great, considering that we've only had Kawhi for 14 of those 52 games, right? 14 of those 52 games. So at most, if Kawhi Leonard were to play all 30 games left, which he's not gonna, he will be up to 44 games this season. So he's not gonna. So I'm guessing he's gonna end at, if he doesn't get any injuries, knock on wood, it'll be 40 games, or he'll play half the season. We're 29-23. We're in the play-in right now. We're in the play-in. And the Houston Rockets, that were second seed all season long, they're now in fifth. I know they lost Jabari Smith for a while, but they went from second place to fifth. So they're probably not going to finish second. And let's be honest, going from 11th seed to the second seed in 1 year with no major additions, that would have been insane. So the Rockets are probably not going to finish second, which makes me think that the Rockets-Clippers pick swap situation is back in effect, which means that we need to finish above Houston so then we could keep our pick. Because right now, our pick is the most valuable of OKC, Houston, and us. And if the standings were to finish today, OKC's taking our pick. We're getting the 30th pick in the draft. But if we get better than Houston, they're going to take Houston's pick, and we can keep our own, which will probably be like 19 or 20. But we'll take that. Any first-round pick is huge with how little picks that we have. So we're still 3 games behind Houston in the loss column, and we're half a game above the Timberwolves right now in the loss column. They have 24 losses. We have 23. The Dallas Mavericks, given that Anthony Davis just got hurt, I don't know if they'll be catching up to us unless we have some major injury. Sacramento, I don't see them catching up to us either with the loss of Fox. Phoenix, I can't believe they're not even in the play-in. That's a joke. 26-27. Man, how's the weather down there, Phoenix? It's funny to see that. But the one that really pisses me off, though, is the Lakers. The Lakers are really, but when I was doing this show last, like when I was talking about games, they were half a game below or above us. They were like, it was back and forth. It was neck and neck. They've been on a run because they had their 2 best players. Like Anthony Davis and LeBron have been healthy. Anthony Davis and LeBron were healthy. Like, it's not the same. The fact that we were even next to them is impressive. But they're 32-19 right now, 13 games over. and on a 6-game winning streak. And now they have Luka. I'm not going to even talk about that. I'm going to wait for another episode to talk about it. There's too much to say on that. Especially as somebody who's played a team that's played Luka in the playoffs 3 times and shares a city with the other team. And now, oh my God, don't even get me started. But yeah, I don't see them slowing down that much. At least in the regular season, 9-1 in their last 10. This is the best they've been doing in the regular season since like 2021 or pre-LeBron injury, or maybe even the year they won the chip. That's what we cannot have is the Lakers win again. Denver is doing great. They're on a 7-game winning streak, and Westbrook is doing awesome there. And Jokic is playing like, one of the best players of all time, which he's proving to be. They're 35-19. So I think Denver's out of sight. I think the Lakers, unfortunately, we're not going to finish higher than them. Is this the year that we play the Lakers in the playoffs now that Luka's here? Because they're the only team that we haven't played in the playoffs. I'm sorry. We're the only team that they haven't played in the playoffs, the Lakers. They've played everyone in the West besides us. That would be nuts. And with Luka, I do not want to play that fool again, especially with the Lakers. And then I have to hear it from the fans here. Oh my God, that's going to be a nightmare. So let's not do that. But Memphis being second, we're playing them tonight. Memphis was second seed 2 straight years in 2022 and 2023. Then last year, Ja got suspended and injured, and everybody got injured. And now they're back at it with Desmond Bane, Scottie Pippen Jr. coming off the bench, Jaren Jackson, an all-star for the second year. Santi Aldama has been great. He's their 4th leading scorer. Jalen Wells, that rookie's been fantastic. Edie's a good rookie. They got some good young players. I see that Gigi Jackson's back. Is that recent? He wasn't. He was out for a while. Yeah, he's back. Wow, he had 27 points on February 3rd. Man, this team is stacked. Even Jake LaRavia and Jay Huff have been playing well this season. They got Brandon Clark back. They traded Marcus Smart. He's now on the Wizards. But man, they got a squad. So they're 36-17 heading up and into it tonight. I haven't seen John Morant play. He hasn't played the Clippers at Staples Center or in a home game since, I believe, the opening night of the 2021-22 season. It's been that long. And yeah, Ja just played against Phoenix yesterday. So I wonder if he's going to play tonight. That'll be interesting, but let's just see how we do. It's going to be a good test to see how we stack up with a young, energetic team that's second in the West. I think they'll probably finish second in the West or third. They'll be a home court advantage team. As far as the takeaway for the Clippers is, we're still in good standing. The fact that we're in the playoffs outright is great, and that should be the goal. Let's make the playoffs outright. No playing. Because we already have been on the bad end of that in 2022. The last 2 years have secured playoff spot. We need to secure a playoff spot this year because you know what that means? Playoff games at Intuit Dome. And I think for the first year, given that we lost Paul George, given that Kawhi's been out, given that we don't really have a future, to just at least we don't have a future right now. Given that and we get playoff games at Intuit Dome in our first year, that would be a joy for me. That would be a pleasure for me. And I would love that. So as long as we stay in playoff territory, that's all we wanted, right? I always said top 3 seed to win a championship, but I don't see us getting a top 3 seed, and this does not felt like a championship team. We're not a championship roster. I'm going to be honest with you guys, Clipper Nation. We're not a championship roster, but we can make a run if Kawhi can get to it, right? And we've seen lower seeds make the finals. I'm not saying we can't make a run, but win it all? Nah. It's going to be a top 3 seed. I stand by that rule. Kawhi Leonard, it's all about Kawhi. It really is. So let's see how he progresses tonight. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where a vlog of my experience at the Grizzlies game will be out on Thursday. And of course, Locked On Clippers, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Hit the notification bell, subscribe. Let's get to 7,000. I see the number going up every day. Very appreciative of that. And of course, the age-old proverb continues. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Go Clippers.